This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, I'm there.
Okay, good. So we're going to start again. We're in Chelek Dalid, part 4, chapter 6, the Seder Hayom, and we're going to go back a little bit to start Yud Gimel again. We left off the middle of Yud Gimel, but it's hard to jump in the middle. Od Tzarech Sheteidah, Shehine Klal Olamot Mitchalek LaArba'a. When we talk about the different worlds or different realms, there are 4. V'hainu Olam Hazeh. The first world is the world as we know it, and that has one A and one B. Bishnei Chalakav, 2 components. Elyon, upper, betachton, and lower. Shehem. Hachelak Hashememi, the heavenly, V'nikra Olam HaGalgalim, which has all the stars and the planets and all that. V'yisodi, and then the foundational, the earthly, Huanikra Olam HaShafal, which is this is the Olam HaShafal, Uchlal Shnei Nikra Olam Echad. And these two together are one world. That's one world, the physical world, whether it's down here on Earth, whether it's the planets, the constellations, all that goes on up above. So this is world number 1, realm number 1. Above this, Yesh Olam HaMalachim. World number 2 is the world of the angels. V'alav Olam HaKochot Elyonim. And above that is the world of the Kochot Elyonim, of these higher forces. Sharshei HaBriot, which is the roots of the Briot, of that which was created, that we mentioned Chelek Rishon, that's called Olam HaKisei, of the Kisei. And we mentioned last time, a Kisei is where I lower myself down onto this Kisei, right? And that is, when we talk about the Kisei HaKavod, the Kisei, the throne, the chair of God, that means his lowering himself down, so to speak, in order to interact with us. V'hinei. So that's the 3 that we have. We have the lower world, the Malachim, the angels, the Kisei, V'hinei l'mal mizev madriga, and then above this, on a higher level, Yibachen klal hashpaotav yitbarach. That is where we have all of these hashpaot, all of these revelations of Hashem, Giluyei Oro, the revelations of his light, Shemehem nimshachim, that from there extends, comes out, Kol hamitziuyot kulam, all that which exists, Uvaheim tluyim, and everything is dependent on these emanations that come, these influences that come from God, as we mentioned early in Chelek Shlishi Perek Sheni. V'nei al derech hashalah, we borrow the term, and we call that nikra l'chlal kol hashpot, all of these flows, influences from God, we call that olam echad. We call that a world, and we'll soon discuss why that is simply a borrowed term. V'nikra'eyon, we'll call that olam ha'elokut. That is the world of God. V'amnam hinei tireh, she'en shayach bo shem zeh. But to call this God's world, to attach the word world to it, is only derech hashalah. It's a borrowed term, as we mentioned, for the reason Al-Tam Shin Dev will explain right now. Whereas the world of the Kisei, of the throne, the world of the angels, Malachim, and the world of which had the Elyon Tachton, the Olam HaShafal, that is properly termed as an Olam. Let's understand why this is. Vizeh, and this is, Ki Olam Yikarei Kibbutz Atzamim Rabim V'Nimsaim Shonim B'Makom. The word world applies when we have a collection, kibbutz, a gathering of different types of things. Nimsaim Shonim, right? Different existences, different essences, all in one place. Mitchalkin l'machakot rabot. But each one is divided and subdivided. There's so many different types. Umiyachasim zelezeh, and they relate to one another. Biyichasim shonim, in different manners. You look at this world, right? Which one world was this world, right, down here, and the heavens. Well, let's just look at the world over here. We've got humans, we've got animals, we've got plant life, we have inanimate, we have all these different components that all interact with one another in varying degrees and in different ways. But they're all in the same realm. And therefore we call that an olam. You muchashim uruchaniyim, right? Whether they are physical or spiritual, but if they have their ilk, that which is similar to them in that realm, in all their differences and in the way they overlap and the way they interact, then that can properly be called, we can properly be'emet apply this concept of a world. Olam hazeh, olam, right? So we call this world an olam. Bioto, kibbutz gufim shvalim, because there is a gathering here, a conglomerate here of lowly bodies, physical bodies, oshememiyim, and heavenly bodies, b'makom echad, all in one place. So this is properly described as an olam. And the angel world is also considered to be in olam. Because there too there is this collection, this gathering of all these different malachim rabim, of all these different angels and all these different types of angels. I was learning through with Colin earlier today. So that first bracha of Kriyat Shema, we mentioned the Ofanim, the Chayet HaKodesh, they gather up before the Srafim, right? These are all these different types of Malachim, different types of angels that all are in that realm, and therefore we can call that also in Olam, because there again, Gamu Kibbutz Malachim Rabim, it's a gathering of many angels, Makom Echad, in one place, so to speak. Gafi Masha Shayach Bam, right, with all that which is shayach, relevant, applicable to them. V'olam kisei olam. And the third world that we mentioned, the world of the throne, that too is an olam, is a world. Bioto kibbutz kochot rabim. That's where many of these heavenly forces are, each one according to what they are and what they do. So that we have again this collection, this conglomerate of all these different similar sorts of separate entities. And that's going to be the key. It's a collection of separate entities. However, when we go to that, we call before Olam Elokut, there it's going to be very different. And that's why he said we just simply borrowed this term of an Olam when describing that. Hashba'otav Yivarach, but that which influences the emanations, the flows that come from God, Hine Einan Atsamim Rubim, V'nimtza'im Shonim Klal. They're not all of these different essences and different existences at all. Aval Havchanot Hein. They are just different, we call it gradations perhaps. These different aspects of the light that emanates from God, right? If I have light and a certain part of it comes through, and another part is obstructed, it's not different components, it's one ore. Or if I send that light through a prism, and then it reflects into it refracts into all these different colors of the light spectrum, it's all that one light. But when it works its way through, it comes out in different colors, in different manners, with different focus. But it's all that singular one Oro Yitbarach.
The key word is revelation. The word Gilui, the revelation.
Mm-hmm. Heimine Gilui Or, right? There are different types or different aspects of this Gilui Or, the revelation of the light that comes from God. She'ein inyanam elamashi barach shmo nimtza levriotav, and it's all one thing, that which he, blessed is his name, presents to his creature, to the world. umashpia lehem, and influences and shares this light according to our needs, according to what needs to be. Ach biyot shenavchin b'ashpaot ele chiluk seidur v'hadraga, but we perceive them, that there's differences in the Seder Hadraga, in the order, in the level, in the intensity of that light that works its way to us, according to that which is fitting for those who are on the receiving end. Shebam nishrashim chilukehem, that we have these different roots, sidreim, orders, hadragoseim, levels, shalanimsim, of all that which exists. As we mentioned before, therefore we can call this an olam, a world, but it's a world in the way that it comes down to us. But in its place, it's all this singularity that exists there. And therefore it really is a borrowed term to call this an olam. And this is far above the other three. Right? But according to this order, this hadraga, these levels, this structure, right? Because this is how the emanations work. Hamuchashim, we down here in the physical world, we get it from, we're connected to, and this is the example that we use often, of a chain link, that each one is connected to the link above it, which is connected to the one below and to the one above. So we, Muchashim, the physical world, we connect to the Malachim, to the angel world. HaMalachim, the Mashalim, and the Malachim world connects to that which is above them, the Hainu Akise, which is the throne of Madrigasov and its levels. V'Akise, and that third world connects to the Olam Elokut, Bashbotav Yitbarach, to the flows, the influences, the emanations of God, Uvigiluye Oro, and the revelations of His light, Shua Shoresh Ha'amiti, which is the true Shoresh, the true root, Lakol, for everything.
Yep.
Okay, now a little bit back down to earth for us in Yudalid.
I learned that
Yes,
all these the four words are an acronym of the word Abia.
Yeah.
Abia. So the Ain is for the Olam Asiya, the Yud for the Yetzirah, Bet for Bria, and the Aleph is the Adam Kadmon.
Yeah.
Or Adnut, yeah.
Atzilut.
Right. Or Atzilut, right.
Yeah.
And beyond that, there's the Adam Kadmon, the fifth, where all the power and the energy comes from.
Right, which is actually Atzilut, and we use the term Adam Kadmon, right? As often the Sfirot are represented as a person standing there, right? But that's all for our representation. Okay, with this structure in mind, he says, it was based on this structure that the portions, the parts of tefillah, of davening, were established. We're talking about shacharit now, and then we'll explain mincha and mariv, and the differences in terms of the brevity or length of these different davenings. Shacharit is the main. Dahainu, shlosha chalakim, the three parts, b'tchila, l'tikun shlosha olamot. The first three parts of tefillah are for the tikkun, for the rectification on these three olamot, these three worlds, which are, as we said, olam hazeh, this world, olam hamelachim, angel, olam hakisei, throne, v'zeh, karbanot, that connects to olam hazeh, the physicality of this world, the zmirot, what we call psuke de zimra, right?
Yes.
The psuke de zimra is those psalms that we say, Baruch Shema Tzil Yishtabach, that is corresponding to the Malachim. Birchot Kriyat Shema, the blessings of Kriyat Shema, the two before, one after in the morning, that aligns with the Olam HaKisei, the throne. The Achar Kach Tfilah Me'umad. And then comes the Amidah, the Shmona Esrei, V'hu Keneged Olam HaElokut, which corresponds to the world of Elokut, Lamshich Hashpaot Lefi Bechinotehem. And each one brings down, extends these influences according to that which they are meant to bring to the world. The Achakach, and afterwards, after the Amidah, we have another three chalakim. Shosha chalakim acherim, three other components. Lahamshich meshach hashefel olamot zeh achar zeh, right, which continues lahamshich to draw down these influences, these emanations to the worlds zeh achar zeh. Lebesof. V'hainu kedusha, the sidra, shir haleviim, ve'ein kelokeinu. This is the Ashra Yuval Tzion, kedusha de sidra, the kedusha of the sidra. We again, that's the third time that we say kadosh, kadosh, kadosh. We say it as part of the bracha, the blessing of Kriyat Shema. We say it during the repetition of the Amidah and kedusha, and then we say it in Yuval Tzion. We have the shir haleviim, the shir that the Levium would say, ve'ein kelokeinu. And then we have ein kelokeinu. Now this is not Nusach Ashkenaz, right? It's Nusach Sfard, who has ein kelokeinu every day. V'achar kol zeh aleinu. We have aleinu. I say Ashkenaz. We say aleinu prior to the shir of the Levium, the Levite song that they would sing each day in the Beit HaMikdash. But Sfard has it in the order that he's describing, which is Yuval Tzion, Shir HaLeviim, the Shir Shal Yom, the Psalm of the day, followed by Ein Kelokeinu, and then that's closed out, V'achar Kol Zeh, as every tefillah concludes. After all this, we have Aleinu. And what is Aleinu? V'hu lachazor ulamlich malchutoi barach al kol ha'olamot. That is to establish and to coronate God's kingdom on all of the worlds. Asher nitbarchu mimenu. Achar shenitbarchu mimenu. Right. Once we have gotten that bracha, that flow from him, so then that goes back onto all of the worlds that have received their hashpa'ah, their bracha mimenu from Hashem.
But he doesn't explain how so. In other words, how is Alenu is to make him the king of all the other worlds? In other words, it's more related to our worlds, that the people in our world will know that he is the king and one and only one. But not necessarily Olam HaMalachim or anything else.
He extends the heavens, he Yosef Aretz, Umoshe Yikaro Bashamayim Mima'al, Yala Aretz Mitachat, Ein Od. Right? Maybe it's in
that's
the
right. That's right.
Maybe it's in the Ein Od aspect. Uzi.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Right? Ein Od, meaning there is none other beside him, meaning throughout all the realms.
That makes sense.
So we get to perceive that which works its way down, Bashamayim Ma'al, Yala Aretz Mitachat, right? But then the recognition of Ein Od. Maybe I hear what you're asking, Uzi. Maybe the Ein Od is what extends it, right? Up.
That
above,
makes sense.
Above and beyond.
I was more thinking about the second paragraph, not the first. So, but you're right.
Yeah. V'hinei Tetvav 15 Nitchabru lazeh od katzat inyanim pratiyim. Now, added on to this, joined up with this are some other aspects that are also become part and parcel of our daily shacharit morning prayers. Lorer harachamim, to arouse this rachamim, this compassion, ulaharbot habracha, and to increase the bracha. Umichlal zeh, included in this is inyan vidoy. Once again, this is the way the Sephardim daven, not Ashkenaz.
Right,
Every day
right.
they say the vidoy. We say on Yom Kippur or on fast days, but they do vidoy on a daily basis. Hazkarat ashlosh esrei midot, saying the 13 attributes of mercy, which again they do. Right, they do daily as part of their tachanun. Unefilat apayim. Ashkenaz, we do that in Nefilat apayim, right? And say certain psukim when we do that. But they have all of these.
Rabbi, the vidui and the tachnun is not the same?
Correct. In other words, Svardim, Nusuk Svardim will do vidui, and then they'll do Yud Gimel Midot, and then they'll do Tachanun, Nefilat apayim.
I see.
Right? And B'nai Ashkenaz, we go straight to the Nefilat apayim without the vidui, the confession, and the 13 attributes.
All right.
The vidui is to close the mouth.
Shut up.
Shut the mouth. Right?
Shut up.
Right.
Shut up.
Right. The storm of the bed. Right? Which is the equally non-respectful way in Hebrew that we would say this in English, shut up. Right? So to shut the mouth of the Mekatrigim, of those heavenly accusers, below yigramu lo shetidachet tfilato chas v'shalom, right? To make sure that they will not cause that our tefillah prayer be pushed aside.
Rejected.
Vazkarat hashlosh midot, and mentioning the 13 attributes of mercy, zeh kocham, that is their koach, that is their unique power. Sheitfos hadon baruch hu b'midat rachmanut, that Hashem will take hold of the attribute of compassion. Uveshlilat rumamuto yavor al pesha, and then with that absolute rule that he has, he can pass by any iniquities. V'yachon, and have this compassion, af beheder hazuchut, even when the requisite zuchut merit might be missing. Unefilat apayim zohi chniya gedola, and nefilat apayim, right? They used to literally bow down fully. We bow down our faces, we cover our faces, the same way that a child, when they're embarrassed, their natural reaction is to hide their face. That's our nefilat apayim. We fall of our face and we cover our face. That is a chniya gedola, a great humbling act of submission. Lefanav yitbarach, before Hashem. Asher kocha gadol, that its power is great. L'shetit payes midat hadin, that the midah of din is mitpayes, is very similar to the Hebrew and English word, is appeased, right?
Yes.
It's calmed,
yes.
Right? And, in so many ways, I often say, teshuva, right? It has three components that you have to confess, right? Apologize. You have to resolve. You have to regret having done it, and you have to resolve not to do it. And we understand that in our personal interactions, if we've wronged someone, those are the three components that are necessary. And missing any one of those three is not sufficient. I apologized, and I won't do it again. But I don't regret it. That's not going to work. I apologize. I regret it. I'm going to do it again. Also not going to work. I regret it. I won't do it again. But I'm not going to apologize to you. Right? Also not going to do it. Right? And in a similar way, it's interesting. I have a rabbi's conference coming up, and years ago I had a conference, and they went around the table that each of us should give like something that a good idea, a good thought, right? And one of the things that I said is, inevitably we all make mistakes. We all should have done something that we didn't, or should not have done something that we did. Should have called someone we didn't. We all make mistakes. We all, right? It's impossible not to. And the worst thing is when we dig the hole deeper by taking the foot out of our mouth and putting the other foot in instead, right? And I said, the best thing to do is to say, I'm sorry. I messed up. Right? Not it's because of this. Right? They don't want to hear that. Just say I'm sorry. And that's what we're saying over here. The greatest kaniyah, the kochel gadol, the greatest power, l'shetit payes midat hadin, that the attribute of justice becomes appeased, is chaniyah, is when you humble yourself before Hashem. And that's what the Mefilat HaPayim is, or we call the Tachanun. That is kniyah, humbling yourself before Hashem. Asher kocha gadol, again, its power is great. L'shetitpayes midat hadin, for this attribute of justice to become appeased. V'yikamru harachamim, and it allows the coming, the arousal of rachamim agdolim, of great compassion. V'yeh shefa nimshach b'riboy u'b'revacha. And that way, the influence, the heavenly influence, that light that we spoke of before, will extend down. Beriboy, with great, in abundance, a great amount. Ubiravacha, in a great and wide, generous fashion. Ve'ulam, zehu aseder. This is the order. Hakolel, the general order. Shalav nostat tefillah, that upon this was founded, was based the tefillah. V'yesh pratim rabim l'chlal zeh, and there are many details. Shebehem tluyim pratei, which leads to the details of haseder, the order of the psalms, of the mizmorim that we say. Ubishar psukim, and which other psukim? Which psukim are we saying? In what order are we saying that? But be rest assured that nothing is haphazard. Each thing was established bimikomo, in its exact, perfect place in this structure.
Yep.
Wow. Tezayin 16. So that's shacharit. But we have mincha, we have arvit, we have afternoon, we have evening, we have musaf, additional services on Shabbos, on Yom Tov, on Rosh Chodesh, the new moon. The tzarech sheteda, you need to know. Shehinei, b'sidrei ha'hanaga. When it comes to the workings of this world, hayom yitchalek l'shnei chalakim. Day is divided into two parts. Haboker, morning, v'achar chatzot shebein habayim, and after midday, so both morning until midday, and midday through the afternoon, bein habayim. V'gam halayla mitchalek l'shnayim. Nighttime is also divided into two, as we mentioned above. The amnam, there's the first part of the night until chatzot, and there's from chatzot until the morning. Right, until midnight and after midnight. Each one of these four components, four parts of the day, need their illumination, and the emanations, the flow, la'olamot, to the worlds, according to the essence of that quadrant, we'll call it, of the day. And based upon this, we have the arrangement of the tefillot for mininam, according to their number. V'hinei, right? What you'll ask, we have 3, not 4. We'll see. V'hinei, l'shnei hayom, for the two parts of the day, the morning and the afternoon. Tiknu tfilat shacharit umincha. For the morning we have shacharit. Its time is, right, ideally the first 4 hours, but can be davened until chatzot. And mincha is the afternoon. B'nei baboker, the morning part of the day. Shehu zman hitchadesh hashefa kafi b'chinat hayom. Right, he mentioned earlier the influences of the night and of the day. So we need to get out of those influences of the night where there is a greater proliferation of different kochot of tumah and impurity, like we mentioned. So the morning where there is mitchadesh, we have the renewal, the beginning of the shefa, of the influence of Bechinat Hayom of the day. Tiknu Aseh de Ba'aruka. There, the arrangement is a much lengthier arrangement. Kafi Kol HaMitzarech, according to all that which is necessary to bring down those influences at the start of the day, leaving the night behind them. But the second part of the day, which flows from the first part of the day, it doesn't need quite as much. We're not going from night to day, we're going from morning to afternoon. It takes a little effort on our part, in order to bring about completion of what is necessary for that time period. Uvalayla. Now we get into the nighttime period, the first half of the night. Liot binyan yoter chidush. This is now a renewal. This is a new stage, a non-day stage. Because now we have these changes. Kind of bechinat halal. We now enter into the realm of night. Which is a greater transition of afternoon to night than we had from morning to afternoon. Therefore, there's a longer arrangement than we had by mincha when we went from morning to afternoon. We don't have karbanot. We don't have Psuke de Zimra, the Psalms of introduction of praise. We have the Brachot of Kriyat Shema, Ach Chatzar Mishal Aboker, but a much shortened version than we have in the morning. Because it's still a continuation that we have from the morning. How about the second part of the night, from midnight and on? They did not establish a set prayer for everyone, so as to not overburden the people. But that was left over for the particularly righteous Hasidim, those who want to make those extra steps. That they'll get up, and they will sing out what we call tikkun chatzot. Each one according to what they know to do. Actually, even Arvit itself was reshut haita, to a certain degree was considered to be reshut, right?
Elective.
Somewhat voluntary. But it was established now as a chova. Kol shekain. So certainly, if Arvit itself was initially non-compulsory, certainly tikkun halayla, the tikkun of Laila, tikkun chatzot, is like that. The first three tefillot were established by the patriarchs. And therefore, we all come from the patriarchs. We all need to participate in that. But tikkun chatzot, the tikkun of the latter half of the night, that David nizdarez bo. That's something that King David, that he jumped into that. He accepted that. As we said, chatzot laila akum lo dotlach. Right, as he says, at midnight I get up to praise you. V'hu hamashlim im avot. So King David HaMelech, together with avot, is mashlim, completes tikkunam shel Yisroel. This whole rectification flow for Israel that we need to bring down. Avalonik ba'inyan latilo al kol Yisrael, but not as a placement, as an obligation on all of Israel. Kima chasidehem, but on those who are particularly, the English says, particularly devout. Since David was on a madrega slightly beneath that of the avot. Lastly, kodesh nosefet tefillah. On holy days, we have an added tefillah, connected, corresponding to the korban, to the hamusaf, to the added sacrifice. And that aligns with this added influence that comes down on that special day, the Yom HaHu. And that influence of that is specific to that which is specific to its kedusha and its essence.
So, Rabbi, oftentimes the rabbi will say, okay, you could start saying Shema after this time, the night Shema, but they never say to do Tikkun Chatzot.
Correct, because there's an obligation to say Shema. Even
Yeah.
if Arvid was Rishut, right? But Kriyat Shema B'Layla B'Shach B'cha Uvkumecha B'Shach B'cha. So there's an obligation.
Right.
So that we will repeat. Tikkun Chatzot, that's for those who
Extra.
those who are particularly devout. Yes.
All right. Yishar Koch, Rabbi. I see that we finished it. You too, my
Good.
friend.
We had Steve,
Thanks
and
so
then we
much.
lost him.
Yeah, we lost Steve
Yeah.
somehow. But you had me, so.
We'll end up watching this on YouTube afterwards. So it's a pleasure learning with you, Uzi. And then
Same
our
here,
words
Rabbi.
go on afterwards a bit.
Thanks so
All right.
much.
Laila
Take care.
Tov.
Yishar Koch. Bye.